It's when I'm stressed, like when I'm happy-go-lucky, when there's nothing pressing, I'm more likely to eat really balanced and healthy. But when things start to be too much for me, or the experience of I feel overwhelmed by life, then I'll reach for that stuff. Even though the whole way to the cabinet, to the store, to whatever I'm doing, I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And, it feels like it's not me.
Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. I am so excited to be back with a coaching over coffee session. We haven't done these in a long time. And I know because I get so many emails and DMs about this that you guys love it to hear me coach women through their real-time challenges. And so I just got off one of these sessions and we are diving deep into why does it feel so impossible to stop a binge, even though you want to so badly, right? That moment where you feel like the binge habit takes over your brain and makes you eat and you are no longer in the driver's seat. Why can you want so badly to break this pattern, but still it just keeps repeating over and over again? This was such a good conversation, and I know you're going to walk away with so many epiphanies and realizations and breakthroughs. So without further ado, I'm going to play that coaching session with Melissa.
I was really excited about this coaching because in my early days, and what I mean by that, as a teenager, I struggled with anorexia and a little bit of bulimia. And since then, majority of my adult life, I've eaten freely. I feel very healed from that. But I've started noticing over the past 5 years, I run my own business, which can be stressful at times. And I'll turn to binging foods that I know are not good for me. And it's kind of developed where it's partly I do know that it's self-sabotage, but also I think my biology takes over and the sugar cravings just help out with that, if that makes sense. And so my big thing is I'll recognize the pattern of when I'm stressed. My brain will hijack me and it becomes like another little person in there that just drives towards foods that are not good for me. In particular, sugary foods, maybe say like a cookie or a box of them, and I can't seem to get out of that pattern. And I'll justify it by I've been diagnosed with reactive hypoglycemia, which means my body will crave sugar. And if I give it an ounce, it wants a mountain more. And the cycle just repeats and repeats. But what I notice from that, and I don't know if it's unique to hypoglycemia or not, when I do eat those foods, I get unreal anxiety and depression. And so that's where the self-sabotage, if I have a big goal, but I eat the foods, I'm going to be depressed and not be able to take the action. So it keeps me stuck. And in this pattern of I know where to go, but I eat the foods and then I'm depressed, too anxious. And now that's a new thing like, oh, it's just depression. I'll wait for this to pass and restart, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if I were to ask you the question in those moments where you feel stressed and you turn to food, what is food doing for you?
Oh my God, it's giving me an escape. Like, well, I don't need to, let me put that problem on pause. You know what? I know in the quick moment, it's going to give me a dopamine boost. So I'm telling myself it'll get me back in action. I'll get out of this funk. I'll get some energy. It's kind of like my terms of a caffeine kick, but I know it's much deeper going the opposite way. But in the moment, I tell myself it'll get me back on track just to get me a rush going.
So your brain has learned to associate when I eat, even if it's not true, you've created this association of it will give me energy. It will get me going. It will get me in action and doing things and being productive.
Yeah. Like when I eat the sugary foods, like a burst of sugary foods, because I don't turn to apples, which are like a healthier sugar, but it's whatever will give me that quick sugar rush. That's what my body is looking for to I'll have energy to go for the walk. I'll have energy to work out. I'll have energy to write that. I'll be on a high. So I'll have energy to write, but then the crash Like my brain doesn't care about the crash coming. It just wants a quick high.
Hmm. Do you notice that you have to get to a certain level of stress or overwhelm in order for you to start craving those foods?
I don't know about if I've noticed a certain level, but I do notice it's when I'm stressed. Like when I'm happy go lucky, when there's nothing pressing, I'm more likely to eat really balanced and healthy. But when things start to be too much for me, or the experience of I feel overwhelmed by life, then I'll reach for that stuff.
Yeah.
Even though the whole way to the cabinet, to the store, to whatever I'm doing, I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And, it feels like it's not me.
Yeah. Yeah. The feeling of like, I'm no longer in control. Someone else is driving the bus here.
Yeah.
So you're someone who's very self-aware because I know you, and you know at least a certain level of knowledge around the nervous system, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And so one of the things I talk about a lot with my clients is this idea that you need to start noticing your capacity as you go out throughout the day, right? You start off the day and your nervous system capacity is pretty high, right? If you imagine like your cup is full, you've had a full night's sleep, if you're lucky and you're well rested, and you start off the day, I'm sure you do this, you start off the day with the best of intentions. You're like, today it's going to be great. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to stick to my plan. And then what happens, and I often see this, and I used to do this too, is like, especially running a business, you have to make so many decisions throughout the day, and you're encountering all of these different stressful situations that you have to deal with. And your capacity, your nervous system capacity is getting lower and lower and lower without having the opportunity to refill. And then what happens is you get to a point where it has become so low that autopilot, those mechanisms, those patterns, those loops that you have learned and you've repeated enough times start to turn on, because you get to a point where you are so overwhelmed by those emotions and you're like you said, I need to escape this. I don't want to feel this way. And your brain has repeated that loop and has learned that food, I so understand that it feels like it's the food that's addictive in that moment. And especially when you have your condition, it feels like, okay, once I start eating sugar, then I just want to eat it as much as possible. But what's actually happening is that you have become addicted to the relief, the temporary relief that food gives you in that moment. And so we often start associating like, I'm addicted to food, I'm addicted to my phone, I'm addicted to gambling, I'm addicted to doom scrolling. But what it actually is that your body and your brain has learned that reliably, this external thing outside of me will change how I feel internally. And once you start getting to that emotion of stress or overwhelm, well, your brain has created that association, and you have this conditioned belief that I can't change how I feel internally. I can't handle this. The only thing that will make me feel better is this thing outside of me.
It makes a lot of sense. And even another layer further, that it really resonated when you said it's addicted to the relief that I get, because more than the relief in the moment, it's also knowing that I'm going to be checked out for like a week, because I'll come out of it with anxiety and depression. And so when I'm trying to do a big goal, like that part of my brain lies to me and just says like, you'll feel better. And I fall for it every time. Like I will feel better in the moment. And I can I can skip the anxiety this time, but it never happens. And so it's actually signing up for like, quote, relief from the tasks for like a week or more, because it really brings me down.
Oh my God, that is such good self-awareness, because what you're talking about is something that we both have learned, and it's the idea of a secondary benefit.
Yeah.
There is, and for anyone who's like, what does that even mean? There's a secret, invisible secondary benefit to the things that you're doing that don't serve you. And like, you wouldn't be doing them if there wasn't some kind of benefit to it. A
Mhm.
perfect example is last week, I had this big thing that I needed to film for work. And it was 3 videos that I needed to film. And I knew that it was going to take quite a bit out of me, that it was going to require a lot out of me, and that I was going to have to be like hella focused for it. And so my brain started being so convincing about all of the things that I should be doing before it, all of the things that are more important, and creating all of these stories as to why I can change my timeline of why I want to get it done. And so your brain and your ego will create these really compelling stories and engage in really destructive behaviors as a way to protect you and save you from whatever it is that you don't want to feel or you don't want to do.
Yeah. And so for mine, I think what it would be, 'cause it keeps getting me off the path, is like I have consistency in my business in terms of like it works, it's proven, it's going well, but it's like we're on the place where I need to be scaling. But what that means to my brain, which I might have shared with you before, where that means it'll be a lot more clients. As a deep introvert, do I really want that? Right. But if I keep, like, I have the projects that need done and there's deadlines, but the anxiety of watching the deadlines come and go is much less than the anxiety of what might be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that you're bringing this up because one of the questions I always have my clients reflect on and journal on is, yeah, what is this protecting me from? And what is the worst thing that can happen? So let's talk through it with you. So when you imagine a world where you are not binging, you are not using food to cope, right? Like you're here because your goal is to have a healthy relationship with food, right?
Yeah. And my energy levels, physical fitness, like the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And how long has this been a goal of yours?
I'm embarrassed to say years. I think I quit teaching yoga and living a more physical life. I used to be a massage therapist and yoga teacher, gosh, pre-COVID. So now 6 years that I've been swapped from very physical to desk life. And it's a whole new learning and operating experience for me in terms of work. So I think when I stopped doing the physical and being the practitioner, which is a lot of energy expenditure, like I'm good, I'm moving, I'm healthy, you got to eat healthy before you do a hot yoga class, right? But now at a desk, it's different and it's different stresses. So I think it's slowly been building over the years where ever since that switch, I've been consciously wanting to stay physical, but there's just different things required of me now. And I
Mm-hmm.
haven't still found a way to balance is an overused word, but like find the balance between how can I be healthy and learn a whole new career. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's been a lot and I've been,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been years and I don't know the answer.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that it's absolutely possible. I'm in the position as you are, right? Being behind a desk and having all of these demands, it's absolutely possible. But the reason why I asked you how long this has been a goal of yours is because having the goal of being more physically healthy, being more mentally healthy, having a healthy relationship with food is not enough because there's going to be a part of you that objects to that. Because to think about a life where binging is no longer an option and using food as a way to procrastinate or soothe is no longer an option, when you think about that, is there any resistance that comes up in your body, any fear, any stories?
No, the only thing that comes up, so like the swap for me, my outlet used to be like a stress outlet, used to be physical movement. So I'm picturing like getting back into handstands and like having more, like using that time, even if it is a touch unhealthy, which we could go into a whole nother time, but like being physically fit, like practice. I love being able to do handstands. I love being like flexible from yoga. Like I love that stuff. And I'm not right now. You know, last time I tried to do a handstand, I was like, oh man, this is really hard. But like back in the day, I could do it no problem. So when I think of what would it look like without using the food as the stress response, it would be the physical activity again, like turning to 10 to 15 minutes of yoga here and there is what I used to do. But then when that stopped, I guess somewhere along the lines, it got switched to a quick fix of
Yeah.
sugar.
And I think what's important to also highlight is that it shouldn't be just the one thing. Because if you put all of your stress relief into one basket and you no longer can do that thing, you get injured or something happens and you're not able to do the handstands, you're not able to do the physical movement, then what we risk doing is going back to the thing that okay, well, this thing, food, can make me feel that quick relief. And so it's about creating this toolkit of things that you can do to self-regulate from the internal instead of relying on these external things that are often maladaptive. And I'm not saying that physical movement is one of those things, but what I'll see is like using your phone. Like that's a huge thing now that people are doing is like, I don't want to feel this. And I want a
Just
quick
checking
source of,
out.
I'm just gonna check out right now. And it's like, inside of FFA, we have this whole training on creating that toolkit so that you're never just relying on the one thing. Because then what happens when you don't have that one thing? It's about creating this menu of things that you can turn to and being able to know when you need what. Like there will be times, and you'll be able to relate to this, where like I'll get an email that triggers that stress response immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to go for a walk right now. Like I need to go and I need to clear my head before I answer this email. Or like sometimes I've gone so low at my capacity. I'm so empty that I'm like, I actually need a bath. Like this is one of those moments where I need like a full half hour. I need a full reset of where I'm at right now. And so it's about knowing, and one of the things I talk about is having your nervous system recipe. Your nervous system recipe is like knowing what it feels like for you when you are at a medium level of fight or flight, when you are at a high level of fight or flight, when you are in complete shutdown, because those different states and how you feel is going to dictate what you're going to need in that moment. And being able to know what dials up the dysregulation, right? So what dials up the dysregulation for me is poor sleep. Like poor sleep is the number one thing that's going to dysregulate me. Not having a steady breakfast, not having my movement, not going outside, not seeing people for a couple of days. All of those things are going to dial up the dysregulation in my body. But then you've got all of those things that are going to dial down the dysregulation. So having co-regulation with people in your life, being social, like for me, being social at least once a week is a non-negotiable, especially in the winter where it's very easy to isolate and that just creates more stress in my body. Going outside, going for walks, like I think of my nervous system as being very high maintenance because I do need all of these different things in order to operate at my best so that I am not engaging in these habits that are maladaptive, that are only going to dysregulate me more, as you've seen for yourself, right? And so it's about knowing like, what does my nervous system need on a daily basis? So this is like the baseline in order to feel good, in order to feel regulated as much as possible. Obviously, you're going to have moments where you're going to feel stressed, but it's about being able to bring yourself back. And then in those moments where you do feel more dysregulated, okay, how do I actually tolerate this? How do I release these emotions from my body without using a buffer outside of me that's not going to serve me in the long term? So I know I just threw a lot at you. What's coming up?
So the part that's coming up, what I've noticed recently, part of the things that gets me out of dysregulation is overstimulation from what I'll say, non-productive interactions. I'm like you, if my friend comes over to visit, like I could talk to them all day long. It's going to feel good. It's going to help. But then there are those, that stressful email comes in. Or what I've also noticed I turn to, and this matches with food. I've been watching it happen in my brain where I've gotten in the habit lately, and not right now. I stopped a couple days ago, just a few days ago, but I'll notice I get into that stress loop, doom scrolling, to check out on my phone because on the surface, it feels like I'm not doing everything, even though I'm aware enough to know it's going to make me worse.
Yep.
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
And what I'll find is when I start to talk myself out of put the phone down, I notice there's a panic response of just one more, just one more. And that same little panicked part comes up around the binging or the food where it's like, not yet, not yet, not yet. It just, what, not yet. And it starts to like, it's so interesting, the different parts of ourselves, because I will know what I want. And then that I'll feel the fight flight response, just one part of my brain being like, but we don't want to let that go.
Yeah.
It's like, whether it's the ADHD and the dope, like there's so many different ways you could explain it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's whatever part of me that's just like, don't let go of that dopamine rush. When in reality, like it's exactly what you're talking about. Like I'm at max capacity. I'm overstimulated. So I'm looking for junk stimulations versus like, can I just chill, like get my body actually decompressed, which I don't know about you, but I feel for a lot of us is hard nowadays. Like there's so much coming at you. It's hard to stay in a really nice nervous system regulation with the abundance of things we have to do all day long.
Yeah.
Not to say it can't be done. Like you said, I think the tools are really important and knowing what does fill me up. But then more than that, actually getting my brain and my body to choose them instead of letting it fall into the pattern of whether it's a doom scroll or going to buy a box of cookies, which both of those are just going to set me up for failure.
So here's the thing is there will be times inevitably where you will maybe fall back into what I call like an internet hole. A great example is maybe a month ago, a month and a half ago. Actually, I think it was 2 months ago, kind of when I told you about, I had like this moment where I just realized like I am not feeling good on a daily basis. I am stressed. I am overwhelmed. I am constantly stimulated. My nervous system is fried. And unfortunately, sometimes things have to get so bad for you to pay attention. Luckily for me, like, and I was talking about this with Rachel and Rebecca, like, luckily, the rock bottom is no longer very deep for me. And we were making jokes like, now it's a rock shallow.
Truly.
Like, luckily, my rock bottom was a rock shallow where I was just like, this doesn't feel good. It wasn't affecting my friendships, my relationships. But I was like, it doesn't feel good for me. And so I had to have this moment of awareness of, I need like an information detox. I need to remove apps off of my phone. I need to get out in nature. I need to clear my head. My nervous system needs a reset. And so it's important. And then sometimes I'll find myself like 2 days of doom scrolling and back in that internet hole. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing it again. Let's be mindful of that. Let's really be intentional about that. But it will happen. And when it comes to choosing the thing that you know you want to choose and you consciously know is your goal, and then feeling like you're being hijacked, there's 2 things that can be really helpful there. The first one is don't rely on yourself in that moment when you're already dysregulated to make a different choice. Like at that point, you've already been hijacked. Like you're no longer in the driver's seat. And so if you're asking yourself to like make the harder, more inconvenient, less pleasant choice in that moment, good luck. And then you're going to feel frustrated because you're like, I know what I should be doing. I'm weak, blah, blah, blah. And so this is where you can use the power of visualization. Set up those neural pathways in your brain ahead of time. So you have practiced it. You have rehearsed it. You know what it's like. So you can practice yourself seeing that stressful email or whatever your triggers are, where you usually turn to food or you usually turn to your phone. practice it in your mind. Anticipate the challenges, anticipate how you're going to think and the excuses that you're going to tell yourself, and why it's a good idea for you to turn to food, and why it's a good idea for you to scroll. Oh, it's going to feel so good. And what are you going to choose instead? What are you going to remind yourself of instead? So I always use this example because I think it really like highlights how this is going to work in real time, where I, a couple of years ago, was so annoyed and fed up with myself that I kept pressing snooze on my alarm every morning. Then I would wake up and I wouldn't have enough time in the morning. And I was like, I'm so tired of this. But in the morning, when you're woken up and you're so used to doing the same thing, oh, I'm so comfortable. It's so cold outside. It's dark. Let me just press snooze. You are so used to doing it that, like, even if you tell yourself the night before, okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up on time, there's another part of you that's like, no, you're not. Of course you're not. Don't fool yourself. And so I would have to go to bed and literally rehearse it. When I wake up, I'm going to see that it's dark out. I'm going to see that I'm cold in my bed. I'm going to be so comfortable. I'm going to tell myself these excuses. I'm going to tell myself these reasons. And this is what I'm going to do instead. And I would have to rehearse it so that in the moment when I wake up, I know what to do. I've already practiced it in my mind enough times to make a different choice instead of letting your autopilot, unconscious behaviors and patterns take over in that moment.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it is a really good reminder. I like the part, especially, I wrote it down, not your exact words, but what I wrote was, don't rely on the fight flight response to make the decisions for me, which I feel like happens. And I don't notice that it happens because I think it's me, but it's really just the response pattern choosing. Yeah. And the visualization is good. I do a lot of that, but I need to be more deliberate about each, I'll set up for the success, but I don't always think about, well, what about when it goes south? How do I come back out of it? Which I think is deeply important as well. And then to anticipate the challenges for the day to make it a habit of like, okay, well, it's inevitable. Some of these things are going to throw me off. Then how do I come back? And having it, what I was thinking too while you were chit-chatting was to even have a little Post-it note somewhere and for what I'm going to do, what are you going to do, and make it non-negotiable, because I'm sure you've experienced too. Part of it in the overstimulation is I'm out of decisions.
Yeah.
I'm out of brain space by a certain time in the day. And so I don't have the capacity to make a decision. And so it just jumps to what's not ideal. So if I already have it written down and just make it a rule, like it doesn't matter, like that's what I'm going to do, whether it's going for a walk or go sit with my chickens or, go take my CBD bath, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but find one where it's non-negotiable. Like if I feel like X, I'm going to do Z, and like, there's no other option. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you make such a good point about, you have made so many decisions at this point that your brain is like, I can't choose one more thing. I can't choose to do something different. So I'm going to rely on the thing that I've already repeated, that I know works, and that is the easiest right now. And so the ultimate goal of all of this is for your autopilot behaviors to be different, for you to retrain your brain to have something else come up that you do automatically, that is the easiest decision for you, so that food is no longer an option. Like, not once do I think when I'm stressed, like that association has been broken in my brain. There's no longer stress is associated with food.
I can't even imagine.
Well, it's possible. Yeah. It's absolutely possible. But it's about rewiring the associations that you've made in your brain. Mm-hmm. Like, one thing that I can tell you, maybe food is not a challenge, but like I've associated taking my bath with scrolling. Like my bath, I'm like, ooh, this is when I get to relax, I get to unwind. And I've associated my phone with unwinding. It doesn't actually help me unwind. And I don't like that it feels empty without it. And so it's also about rewiring all of these different associations, because if your brain has, first of all, associated food with relief, and with procrastinating on the things that you know are going to require a lot out of you in your business, then you're going to keep repeating it. But if you can associate food with something different, like feeling like crap, feeling unfulfilled, feeling just not good in your body, then that's going to be a different association. Like, I know that when I was first learning how to overcome disordered eating, every time I would have an experience where I would overeat, I would pause and I would be like, ooh, okay, this is how it feels in my body to overeat.
Mm-hmm.
This, I do not want it. I do not want to treat my body like this. This does not feel good. And this isn't about weight. This is like, I deserve to feel better than this. And so it's like rewiring the associations that you've made in your mind, practicing ahead of time so that your autopilot behaviors become different and you're not relying on in the moment new decisions, which is going to be so hard to do. Those things are going to have a massive impact.
Yeah. It's making me think about so much more than food too, because when on the good side, when you're talking about associating with a new thing, what I think is lovely, and I like to remind myself, it doesn't have to take a long time. On a negative side, I realized when I was starting to get really burnt out and noticing that I was checking out on my phone, that I won't mention it, but there's one topic in the news that really gets me and like triggers me and makes me really sad for, I'm sure people could pick whatever to fill in the blank, but there was one thing. And every night by the time I get done with my day, I'd lay in bed and I wouldn't really scroll, but I would just tell myself, I'm checking what my sister sent me. I just want to see what my sister sent me. And she's on the same path. She would send me doom, 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 same topic. And then, I'd spend my evenings right before bed doing that. But here was the kicker. I put my phone away and I'm like, no, I'm just going to stop scrolling. I'm telling her stop sending me those reels. I'm not going to look. No phone in the bedroom. Don't use it throughout the day. But for a week, every night when I went to bed, as soon as I sat down, my brain would think of that topic because it was associated when I hit the bed, I'm going to be sad about XYZ.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, now my brain is associated going to bed with feel terrible about the earth. And I'm like, oh, that's a horrible pattern to have. Right. And I've switched it since. But all of that to say, it sounds like this can be so hard to do, but really like a little bit of practice behavior and it flips really easily. So
absolutely.
It's never even occurred to me to do it with food, right? Here we are stuck in our own stuff, but I'm watching it in other areas.
Yeah. I mean, this happens all the time. Like I'll be talking to my friends. I'm like, oh yeah, I coach on this. I know this. I teach people this. And why am I not applying this to myself? So the last thing I want to say that's coming up to me intuitively is you also want to remind your body that it is safe to feel discomfort. Because if you are starting to feel overwhelmed and you're starting to feel all of these big emotions and you're like, I just want to escape, then you will never learn that you can handle sitting in it. And if you don't think that you can handle sitting in it and you don't know that, okay, this is going to pass, and you don't give yourself evidence of that, then the second you start feeling those things, then subconsciously you're going to be like, oh, I can't feel this. I can't handle this. This is going to be too much. And so I need to turn to food. And so a big thing that I'm teaching my clients is like showing them how capable they are and how confident they can be in navigating these hard emotions and sitting with it and letting it move through their body. And like emotions, if you really just let it come up and you don't push it down and you don't distract yourself of it, it will come and go like a wave in 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Yeah. But you're not giving, if you imagine a wave, for anyone who's listening, you try to imagine it, like your wave is going to peak at like halfway through. And at the peak is where people usually make the decisions to eat or to scroll or to yell at their partner or yell at their kids when they're at their most dysregulated. And that is the worst place to make the decision because you're not yourself. You are being hijacked. And so when you can really just remind yourself, breathe through it, and use whatever tools you develop in your toolbox for your nervous system, then you let it pass. And then the next time this happens, you're like, oh, okay, I remember last time I was able to get through this. I can get through this again. And that's how you build that capability to handle those hard emotions that are really uncomfortable without being terrified of them and feeling like they will overwhelm you.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of brings it around to where we started, where when I start to get overwhelmed, my brain is searching to escape that feeling because it knows at least you'll get a quick high. Like, we don't care. That's later Melissa's problem. Like, let's get a quick high now of avoiding the discomfort.
Yeah. So with all of this in mind, we covered a lot. Do you feel like you can see things a little bit more clearly, that you have a new perspective on what you've been going through, and especially like starting to see that this doesn't have to be your life forever? Like, you're not biologically doomed to struggle with this forever. Like, there is a reason and there is a way out.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because I like to learn about the subconscious and associations, but then it doesn't really matter the reason, but I'll get stuck in a little box of, well, I was told because I have a hypoglycemic reactive, yada, yada, yada. But then it's okay. And I think my brain uses that as an excuse to be like, no, it's nothing emotional.
Yeah.
We just need some sugar. You know what I'm saying? Either way, like I'm very clearly, I know I associate it with like letting me feel good. And there's much better, healthier ways. So definitely going to focus on reassociating what those junk sugars mean to me. And maybe as a stepping stone, it might not be what you want to hear, but a stepping stone of like, if I am reaching for food, like reach for a banana, and then from there, rewiring it to all sort, like whatever else. I'll have to think about what I want to rather reach for, and then make it a post-it note. Like, there's no other option. And that helps me for a lot too. Sometimes I'll schedule out my week of like, the decision was made. We're just doing it, And so even with something like this, the decision was made. Like, this is what we do when it feels like a breakdown is on the verge of happening.
Yeah. And then you just rehearse it.
Yeah.
You rehearse it, and enough times that now it's in your brain, is the pathway is formed, and now you just have to do it over and over again. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.